Okay, this is just going to be a quick overview of Shader Workshop with actual narration rather than a silent film version. I apologize for any audio issues. I will have other videos going more in depth into writing actual shaders, converting shaders from integratoin or FragCord to Shader Workshop, and other details like that. But for this, I'm just going to try and go real quick into what it looks like to start it running and the different features. There will also be a separate video for Windows. So this is what you get when you extract it. Again, you can just double click on each of these and they work. They all use the same config. And so it comes with some shaders, and each one is in a separate folder. There's some documentation there, obviously meant for each of the different executables, and they all have a bash script that's pretty simple. You can modify it if you want, but any argument turns on optimization, and then so this one's meant for the default and just loads it, nothing special, and there you go. So I might as well use this one to cover the different features. Obviously you have a set number of extra buffers. They're always there. This is the default shader. They don't actually run unless you're on them or if you use them as a channel input for the one that you're running. Obviously this is the channel selection dialog or pop-up. We do not have sound shader or sound textures or sound shaders yet. Hopefully I will get to that later. You have pop-ups sort of like FragCord for controlling the FPS, the resolution, with some set sizes, and also just a ratio of what your window is. You can control time, loop, speed, all that stuff. You can even go negative. Not super useful, but it's possible. Taking a screenshot, start recording. There's nothing to see here, so I probably shouldn't have demoed the recording on this. Stop recording, and it will show up in here. Screenshots there by default, which brings me to the preferences. These are where you can set a different directory to save screenshots and recordings, various behavior. This is for startup. So things like the resolution, that is just, this will be in the config file. It will be when it starts up. If you change the resolution, resizing the window or just manually selecting that stuff, that's just live. That does not change your preferences. This is where you actually change something that persists. And then appearance, FragCord sort of inspired by default. This is the default for nuclear. It's kind of a bit bland. Light, and then custom lets you change individual styling, and it will again save to the preferences. What else do we have here? Restart, standard filters, flip, and nothing really new there. This lets you see all the uniform values, and if you pause them, you can change some of them live. This is for your custom GUI, which I will show an example of later. This is if you want something to be visible or changeable, you write it in your own code and it will show up here. This is reinitialize. It does not reload the shader. It just reruns the sort of initialization functions, like setting your if you change this, it would set it back to the one that was in the code. It will rerun your initialization function for this. I'm forgetting one, but you get the idea. I think that's pretty much it. Full screen, nothing much there. There's, again, something else I'll show with another shader that actually has those features. Here, again, so just if I want the release build, I just add some argument. And what do I have in here? Oh, right. Nothing special. This is a volume, 3D volume, and I can change that. And it's just looping through the depth plane, just to provide a demo to see how you can use volumes. Nothing else in this one. About page where you can report issues, different libraries I use, nothing special. Okay. Lastly, for the GLM, and again, so the basic one, again, I'll go into this more detail in another one. The shader workshop is meant for is just C. It's meant to use the C library or the C math library that's included with Portable GL. Again, I'll go into the detail of that. RSW is my C++ math library that's pretty common, pretty standard, structured, very similar to GLM but less full-featured. And then GLM is the popular GTruck OpenGL math library. I forget its exact name, but anyway, let's get to the last few features. So the newest feature with this release, 0.5.0, is video textures. And
you and what army?
And also the recording. The recording is new because obviously once I integrated FFMPEG for video textures, it was easy to add the recording. This is just, again, a demo shader that you can look at that's doing green screen replacement with the default shader toy color, starting shader. Again, when you have a video texture, you get some extra controls here. You can pause play individually. So if I do this, they're linked on this end, but I can do this and the shader keeps going. And again, if I go back to the beginning, it links here.
You and what army?
But if I go back to the beginning here, it does not
You
apply
and
here.
what army?
You can mute this separately. These things are the same. And then if I change it, these ones obviously don't really do anything with green screens, but I can change this. It doesn't. The green's a little bit different.
I know I may be young,
So I didn't do it perfectly, but
I've got feelings too.
anyway, let's show this one. Let's show this one. So this is showing an example of custom GUI controls, or custom, stuff I wrote, specifically in the shader, so you can play with it live. And again, you can do all kinds of stuff here, just miscellaneous information, text, buttons, whatever you want. And this is, I haven't really experimented a lot, but obviously this was partially inspired by, FragChord has features like this built in, so I highly recommend trying it out. Again, if I do this, so it's going to reset to, let's show something here. Let's try this one. So if I do this, it will reset the texture and it will reset the initial state of all the, state variables, global variables. But it did not actually reload the dynamic library. There's one other thing. Maybe I'll just go to that one. So this is another feature that has been there since the first release. It is a little bit hard to demo. So you can write, the other ones didn't have this. It's optional for your shader. You can write a shader that is given a different prototype that is given the buffer directly, and you can write to arbitrary pixels. Obviously the default would just be the same thing, loop through, but having all the pixels at once lets you do SIMD and convolution, kernels and all sorts of other things that are impossible with a standard fragment shader. So when your problem is applicable, some algorithms just don't really help. But here, so here, if I turn that off, you always have to have a standard shader. So this has both. And if I turn that off, you can see it drops. Let's go to a really high resolution. So I go down to one thread. This is using OpenMP, and it drops down to 10 frames a second. Even on one thread, though, if I go back to the frame shader, it jumps back up to 60. And if I turn off VSync, and so VSync obviously doesn't let me go higher than 60, but if I turn off VSync and go up, even on one thread, it gets me pretty high. And if I go back to 32 threads, there's really no, SIMD is the biggest advantage. I don't think there's much to gain. It's a memory shortage thing, or a memory access cost, I think. Anyway, so that's frame shaders. Not always applicable, but fun to play around with, and just to see what you can eke out of the CPU. This machine is probably more powerful than average. When I test some of the more expensive shaders, it's you're not going to get 60 FPS on a 10-year-old laptop for a lot of shaders. So just be aware. Maybe I'll do another video on my old laptop. Is there anything else to show off here? This, again, you can go look at the code. I'm not going to do it right now, but this just shows you're not limited to the included media here. You're not limited to this. You can obviously go in and replace these, with the same name, and it will load those at startup, as long as you again match the naming pattern. But you can also, again, with these textures, you can live load an image from your computer, and you can also do a URL if you have something online that you haven't already downloaded. Then you can just go grab it directly from the internet. But you can also do the same with these 4 slots. You can also do that again at compile time. You can select, give it a path, a local path, or a URL, and it will work. Anything else? Oops, wrong one. This one just shows off a multipass shader, although it's not super obvious, what I don't do a lot to take advantage of the multipass. It's just a demo. I think that's pretty much it for at least the stuff that's in the release. Again, show the config is again just Lua, pretty simple. You should probably stick to doing it in the GUI just because you don't necessarily know the names of like the enum values, but the numbers, you can play with those directly if you want, and the paths. I think that's pretty much it for now. Maybe one thing I will say, so this is, I have a few more shaders that I don't actually, send in the package. But like, oops. Here, so like this is one that is slow. Anything with this kind of algorithm, it's gonna be slow, and it doesn't matter that I have, 32 threads. Just, go down to half resolution. Other things, things like this, are going to be a bit slow. And see, this basic rate marching, and for something this simple, you can get 60, but for serious stuff, it's not going to do so well. Another multiplus. What else is here?
Here's Shirley Jones, star of Warner Brothers The Music.
You can do.
She's a luster cream girl.
That's right.
CR effect.
In Hollywood, we think there's no chef.
Okay, I've been talking for too long, over 15 minutes. More I could say, but again, I'll save it for a different video. Thanks, and hope you like it. If you're interested, I will leave a link, shaderworkshop.com. Have a good day.